So a few people commented on the video I did of The Purge, asking me to do like another video basically describing the plot, I guess, of The Purge. I think this is because The Purge was obviously released like a week or two earlier here in the UK than it was in America, so I guess a few people from America wanted to know what happened in the film. I'm just saying, I would have done the video, but I didn't read the comments until like a few weeks after the film had been released, so it was kind of irrelevant by that point, so there wasn't really any point in doing a video. Anyway, on to VHS 2. So I did watch the first film, like last year, or the year before last year, or whenever it was released, I watched it. I was looking forward to it because it was getting quite a lot of positive reviews, or at least from what I've seen it was getting a lot of positive reviews, so I finally got around to watching it when it got released last year or whenever, and I really, really didn't like it. Like, I would go as far as to say, I don't know, I kind of hated it, I think. Like, I really didn't like it at all. I thought it was, like, bad. For those of you who don't know, it was VHS 1 and 2, they are anthology films. The Succubus, the first story in VHS 1, the Succubus storyline, I thought that was alright. That was okay. The second, third and fourth stories were just god-awful, like, whoa, they were bad. Like, I was quite overwhelmed by how bad, like, they were. Like, whoa. Oof. The final story though, the fifth story, that was okay, I guess. That was alright. I did enjoy the sequence at the end where, the climax with all the hands, the house is kind of like getting possessed and all these hands and everything are coming out the wall. That was fun. I liked that little sequence at the end. But the rest of the stories sucked. So the first and fifth story were okay, I guess, but the awfulness of the other three stories kind of like counterbalanced the okayness of the other two segments, which ultimately made the film just awful in my mind. I didn't like the wraparound story either. That was just whatever. I just didn't care. So I was still willing to give VHS 2 a chance anyway, because once again it was getting quite a lot of positive reviews. And once again, I really didn't like it. Like, I just don't get why people like these movies. Like, when I see these positive reviews online, I just don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't know, I guess opinions will be opinions. One thing which I think is interesting to note about VHS 2 is that it has 4 stories, as opposed to the first film which only had 5 stories. I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. So for those of you who don't know, they are anthology films done in a found footage format. So to talk about VHS 2, I guess I should just give my thoughts on each of the stories, each of the 4 stories. So the first one is called Phase 1 of Clinical Trials. We basically followed the story of this dude. After a car crash, he was left blind in one eye. So he signs up for this experimental procedure to have this artificial eye implanted. Or like an artificial experimental eye thing. So he can basically now see through his once or previously blind eye. However, the catch is this experimental device in his head or in his eye or whatever allows him to see ghosts. And that's basically it. It's kind of like a haunted house movie, and he's just seeing ghosts. That's basically it, and that's it. The thing is, the scares with the ghosts, they aren't inventive or creative at all. They are the most generic, pop out moments you could possibly imagine. This segment really annoyed me. It's just how bland and generic it was. It just really got on my nerves. I think partially the reason it got on my nerves so much and it really frustrated me was because of the jump scares. This is the basic rules on how to make a good horror movie. Do not overuse jump scares. And I swear to God, there's 10 or 11 in them. 10 or 11 in this short film, in this segment. And the segment's about 15 or 20 minutes long, so I guess that's equivalent to a jump scare every minute or two. I mean, it just gets really ridiculous. The number of jump scares, I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, I would say the most entertaining part, or to me the most engaging part of this segment, was the guy's house. I think he was living in LA, and to me the LA is my dream city, so I kind of got a kick out of just admiring the view. And his house was pretty awesome as well, so I don't know, I got a kick out of just looking at his house. I thought that was interesting to me. But yeah, the ghost, it's just a haunted house movie. The scares are just utter shit. The jump scares, so many jump scares. That's all I have to say. It's just jump scares. Like, whoa, it was bad. The payoff at the end was okay, I suppose, but the payoff isn't good enough to warrant you sitting through 15 minutes of just, shitty jump scares. So the first segment, just bad, just plain bad. There's no redeeming qualities about it. Aside from the payoff, I suppose, which was okay. But like I said, the rest of the segment isn't good enough to warrant you sitting through all of it just for the payoff. Okay, anyway, on to the second segment, which was called A Ride in the Park. I believe the guy who directed the Blair Witch Project did this one. And of course, I really love the Blair Witch Project. That's one of my favourite movies. A Ride in the Park, on the other hand, I really did not like this segment either. It's basically a zombie. Like, here's the setup. It's a zombie segment. Like a zombie apocalypse, and basically because it's a found footage film, we are seeing this from the perspective of a camera which is being fixed to the helmet. It's basically, this guy's like a biker, he's going through the woods on his bike, and he has a helmet like fixed, a camera fixed to the top of his helmet. So like that's where we are seeing everything that happens in the segment from this, the camera on his helmet. Very early, it's an interesting setup because very early on, like within the first like 2 or 3 minutes, he gets bitten by a zombie and turns into a zombie. So the rest of the segment is basically us. So it's basically a zombie apocalypse from a zombie's perspective, and we are basically seeing his journey as a zombie. And which is an interesting idea. Like, this could work well for a short film, like what this is, since this is a segment, it is a short film, so it could work really well. But I don't know, I don't think they executed it very well. It just wasn't done very well. So the setup is interesting, had potential, didn't go down so well. Because basically, I can sum it up like this. This is literally it. A zombie walks through the woods for like 10 minutes, then he crashes a little boy's birthday party. End of segment. So you are literally just watching a zombie walk through the woods. To be fair, they do attack someone. The zombie does attack someone like while walking through the woods, and then before getting to the birthday party. So literally all you are seeing is a zombie walk through the woods for like 3 minutes. He attacks a human, walks through the woods for another 3 minutes, and then comes across a boy's birthday party, which he and a bunch of other zombies attack. And that's literally it. So, interesting concept, but they could have done so much more than this. Like, crashing a little boy's birthday party, there should have been like a much more exciting climax than that. And the thing is, what really pissed me off about this, like, this seems to be like a trope in most, which is common in most zombie movies. It's just like when someone gets bitten by a zombie, when they easily could have avoided the zombie. Like at the birthday party scene, there are several people who just literally just stand there and let the zombie walk up to them and bite them, when they easily could have just walked away, like ran away, or even walked away. They could have just walked away, but they just stand there and let the zombie bite them, and it just doesn't make any sense. So that was like pissing me off quite a bit. The gore is okay, I guess, when they kill a few people. The gore is standard stuff. There's one thing, the way this ends will piss off a few like zombie fans. I didn't basically a zombie does something at the end of the segment which a lot of people may disagree. Like, I know zombies don't exist. Certain films have their own rules for zombies. Like, in some films zombies can run, some films they can't, that sort of stuff. So you might be saying, I don't know, basically a zombie does something at the end of the segment, which I won't describe it because of spoilers sake, but basically some people won't agree with what a zombie does. I wasn't too keen on what the zombie did at the end here. It just no, I'm not buying it. A zombie wouldn't do that in my mind. I'm not buying that at all. I didn't like the ending. So A Ride in the Park's just bland. Interesting setup, wasn't used very well. Let's move on. The third one is called Safe Haven. The same guy who directed The Raid, which is a really awesome film. So the same guy who did The Raid did the next one, which is Safe Haven. And this is by far, out of VHS 1 and 2, this is by far the best segment in either of them. And not only is it the best segment, it's actually pretty awesome. The setup is a camera crew, a camera crew are basically making a documentary on this cult. So they visit the cult's base, and they are basically just like interviewing the members of the cult to try and learn what the cult are doing, what they hope to achieve, etc, etc. And since this is a horror film, obviously the cult don't have good intentions and things get kind of bloody. a bit crazy, should I say. And yeah, it's just really, really good. Like, I've always said this, but cults to me are really frightening, and you can very easily make them scary in a horror film, because the idea of a cult wanting to kill you is frightening, because there's not much you can do about it. Like, you can't really defend yourself against like a group of 20 people. If a group of 20 people want to kill you, there's not, you don't really have much hopes of surviving. Like, you know, what I'm saying is, like, you can't overpower a group of people, you're pretty much screwed. So that's what, like, that's the reason why I find, like, cult horror movies quite creepy, if it's done right. But, this segment kind of appealed to me in that sense, and the cult is just, like, really interesting. Like, they are vague enough. Like, they give you enough clues so you can kind of tell what the cult is up to or what they are trying to do, but at the same time, they're kind of vague enough to keep it interesting, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't like it when a film is like completely vague, or it just doesn't explain anything at all when it comes to these cult films, because I just feel as if the writers weren't creative enough to come up with an explanation. Like, some people like that. Some people like it. They're like, you know, it's creepier to leave it to your imagination, that sort of stuff. Personally, I'm not a fan of that sort of stuff. I prefer, you know. So what I'm saying is, they did explain some of the cults. Like, you can kind of piece together what the cult is up to, but they are kind of vague enough. So, like, they are vague enough, but not vague enough, if you know what I mean. I'm gonna move on. I'm kind of just going all over the place there. The gore effects are really great. You got, like, there's some great imagery here. Like, if you've seen the trailer, you know what I'm talking about, when the guy walks into the room and there's like a group of like 10 people standing in this room, and they all just standing there, and then they all take out a gun each and just point it at their own heads, and they all pull the trigger at the same time and just blow their own brains out. That scene was awesome. Like, well, there's a lot of awesome scenes in this segment. Yeah, it's just great. Like, the gore effects are great as well. There's plenty of shots of people like blowing off their heads with shotguns and stuff. There's a lot of great imagery. The idea behind the cult is really fascinating. It's the final 10 minutes of this segment is like insane. Like, things get really crazy in this segment, so it does get like really exciting and just, you know, really entertaining in the end, because it's so crazy. There's a certain effect or something which happens at the end which a lot of people find humorous. Like, I did see a lot of people commenting on this. They find the ending of this segment quite silly, so it kind of ruins the atmosphere. Like, everything in this segment is really serious, really dark, and just like really kind of immersive, or whatever you want to say. Like, it's really dark, but something happens at the ending which some people find really silly, and they feel as if it kind of ruins the dark tone of the segments, you know. So personally, I love the thing at the end. Like, I'm not going to spoil what it is, but there's a certain payoff or set piece at the end of the segment which a lot of people find really silly and just feel as if it ruins how serious and dark the segment was. But I liked it. Like, I'm always into these like creature effects. I hope I haven't given much away, but there's a certain creature effect at the end. So, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. But I like the creature effect. I thought it was awesome. Like, you know, creature features, you know, monster films, whatever. I always love a good monster design, and I thought the monster looked great. Also, this is really the only segment out of both VHS films where I actually cared about the character. Like, I genuinely didn't want these people to die. Like, I don't know, I just felt really sympathetic towards them, especially in the final chase scene where some characters or a character are being chased at the end. Like, in the climax, I was kind of rooting for the characters left alive. I wanted them to survive. Like, you know, I was actually like cheering them on, and I've never done that in any of the other segments in the VHS films. That's really all I have to say. So, Safe Haven was awesome. I was actually surprised, like, that the director actually used this as a segment for an anthology film. Like, this could easily warrant a whole entire movie. And so I'm kind of thinking, why didn't he just make this segment into a whole entire movie, thus making himself a lot more money and giving us, the audience, like an awesome film? Because I'm not the only one who thinks this. A lot of people think this segment could have been done as a feature-length film, and I would have loved to have seen that. But yeah, it's an awesome segment. Like, no, you know, it's just great. Next one, and the final one actually, is, I can't remember what it's called. Something like Slumber Party, Alien Massacre, something like that. So you already know what you're getting when you read the title. So it's basically a bunch of kids, should I say, have a slumber party, obviously, and aliens attack. That's it. This one sucked. No surprise. I didn't like this one. I like the aliens. The aliens looked pretty cool. They look like the aliens from Signs or Scary Movie 3, and I'm not joking. They are like, they're really like stereotypical, generic, just alien image, which is used in so many films and just media in general. Like, you know, the Scary Movie 3 aliens, they pretty much look exactly like that. But that's not a bad thing. Like, the way they are lit and the way they are shot and everything makes them look really cool and awesome. Like you might be thinking, like they even look similar to the alien from Paul as well. You know, the Simon Pegg Nick Frost movie. So you might be thinking, like, after watching Paul or Scary Movie 3, and like aliens like this can't really be taken serious in a horror movie. But it's all down to how it's directed and, yeah, how it's all shot and everything. And it's shot well enough for you to be like, you know, these guys are pretty intimidating. Like, you know, they're not like frightening or anything, but like they fit well in a horror movie. Like, you're not like constantly thinking how ridiculous they look because you've already seen Scary Movie 3 and Paul. Like, they like, you know, they fit well in a horror movie. I'm trying to say they are shot well enough for you to be like, these aliens are pretty cool, if you know what I mean. But my problem with this segment is just it was pretty boring. I didn't like any of the characters either. I don't know what to say. The majority of the segment, basically the first half of the segment is just the kids messing around doing kiddish stuff, like playing pranks on each other. And then the second half is when the aliens finally attack. So you got 10 minutes of them just pulling pranks on each other, then 10 minutes of the aliens, end the segment. So obviously the first 10 minutes are wasted. I mean, we don't even like these characters anyway, so it's not as if the 10 minutes like did anything for us, the viewer. The first 10 minutes were just filler as far as I'm concerned. And even the alien action just wasn't that interesting. Like I said, the alien designs are cool, but what is actually happening is pretty boring. Like, literally all it is just kids running through the woods. That's pretty much it. They are running through the woods. Every now and again they encounter an alien. And then they keep running, they encounter an alien, they keep running. That's literally the final 10 minutes, and it's just... it's not, you know, it's just people running through the woods at the end of the day. I just didn't find that entertaining at all. And the fact that I hated these characters and I wanted them to die didn't really help much. Like, that's really the only engagement I got out of this segment. I just wanted to see these kids die as soon as possible. Yeah, and I guess I should mention the thing. I'm not going to say what it is because it's a spoiler. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. But the very final shot of this segment, a certain thing happens which a lot of people find upsetting. So I will say, like, sure, what happened at the end of the segment did get a reaction out of me. It was quite upsetting, but the thing is, any film can do this, and the viewer will automatically feel sympathy or feel upset or uncomfortable because of what is happening. It's like something which, like, people universally find upsetting. Basically, at the end of the segment, something happens within the story which is quite uncomfortable or upsetting. But it's not something which requires any, like, skill or, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's something which doesn't require any skill or clever filmmaking or anything to invoke a reaction out of the viewer. It's just something any film can do and any director can do, and it will make the viewers feel sorry because of what is happening. Like, what is happening will, regardless of how it's done, will make the viewer feel bad. So, like, I'm not giving them any credit for, like, invoking any, like, emotions out of me at the end there, because it's just something which is, like, a really cheap way to get people a reaction out of people. If you watch the film, you will know what I'm talking about, what happens at the end. But it's just a really cheap way to get, like, sympathy out of people. So I'm not giving the segment any credits or any like, kudos for what it did at the end there. Like, whatever. I guess I should quickly talk about the wraparound story. I just didn't care. Like, the wraparound story from the first film is continued in this one, where it's like a bunch of people, 2 people this time, go to a house. It's filled with mysterious VHS tapes, which has all these, like, bizarre segments on them. And, like, there's some sort of, like, possession or zombie virus going on here to do with the videotapes. Like, the mystery behind the VHS tapes is not explained or revealed in this film. But it's obviously going to be, the mystery is obviously going to be expanded upon further in the inevitable VHS 3. Like, of course they're going to make a third one. But obviously that's the wraparound story is going to be continued throughout all of these movies, and I just don't care about it. Like, the mystery behind the VHS tapes, I just don't care. Like, I don't know, maybe it's the tapes are possessing people. There's some sort of force with the tapes which is kind of like infecting or possessing people or something like that. But it's just not an interesting mystery. I just don't care. Like, whatever, you know. I really didn't like this movie. That's really what I have to say. So, Safe Haven is the only good segment. Like, honestly, the other 3 segments and the wraparound story, I just don't care. Like, they are bad. Like, I feel like I gotta tread lightly or kind of be careful with my words here, because I'm gonna piss off a lot of people, because I know a lot of people do like these movies, but I just really can't get behind these movies. Like, the fact that I hate these movies, I think is amplified because so many people like these movies. Because, you know, opinions will be opinions, but the thing is with these movies, I just really, really hate these movies to the point where I just don't get, I just don't understand why people like them at all. Like, wow, it really baffles me. Like, that's the thing with opinions, though, you know. Opinions will be opinions, but I just really don't get these movies at all, why people like them. I really just can't buy it. So I feel as if that kind of amplifies my hate for these movies. I know that's something you really shouldn't let happen, but it just is. But I'm going to leave it there, so didn't like it. But watch it for Safe Haven. I would say if you're going to watch it, skip all the other segments, but stick for Safe Haven, because that is genuinely awesome. But I'm leaving it at that. Okay, so thanks for watching. See ya.